Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. I'm Mike Coletta.
And I am Tyler Osby.
And today we're going over the first ever episode of the actual histories. We're not just doing timeline stuff anymore. And today is the history of Doom. And this is kind of going to be Tyler telling me the history of Doom, right? Because I haven't looked up any of this stuff. This is you. This is you telling it to me. You're telling me a story, Tyler. I'm excited for story time. I'm ready for story time.
It's kind of crazy. It took us almost a year to go through the whole timeline of like just the overarching history of video games. I didn't think it would take us that long.
52 weeks. Yeah, that's 54 weeks in a year. So yeah, dang.
Yeah,
we really,
so almost
really
a year.
did it.
Hey, happy birthday. I don't know. When was the first episode of this show?
I don't know. I should look that up later though, and I will. I'll do it for you. Yeah,
Great.
I could probably do it right now while you start. I'm really excited.
All right. Well, let's talk about some Doom. So, on most people's lists of most influential games of all time, there are bound to be like a lot of first-person shooters. You know, you got your BioShocks, your System Shocks, your Half-Lives, your Quakes, the Unreal Tournament, all that stuff is likely to be on people's lists of most influential first-person shooters. But if you dig even deeper and ask about the most influential first-person shooters, so if we're narrowing this list down or even going deeper into this list, I think most people will generally agree that the original Doom is one of the most influential first-person shooter titles and one of the most influential games in general of all time. Now, it wasn't the first first-person shooter. It wasn't even the first like popular first-person shooter. But to get into that, we got to go into the history of the company that invented, well, I don't want to say invented this genre, but they certainly popularized it and made it kind of what it is. Like people hadn't heard of it before them. So I want to talk about id Software.
id Software. Isn't id, so it's id, ego, and super ego, right?
That's right, yeah.
But what is id? What is the id part?
The id part of the what is it, would you say as a trichotomy? The trifecta? The triad of brains? The id is the part that is all of your base emotions, like the impulses and the urges that happen. And then I think the ego is your sense of self, and your super ego is the thing that tempers your id. I don't actually know. I'm not a psychology expert. So now you're asking me to go into places I'm not an expert. One of those things.
You didn't look up psychology for this episode? Is that what you're telling me right now?
I did not. One of those things, the super ego or the ego, is the thing that like puts a filter on your id, basically. So if you're naming your company id Software, basically what you're saying is like, we have no restraints. Nobody tells us what to do. I don't know.
I was going to say, because according to Wikipedia, it says it's the source of our bodily needs, wants, desires, and impulses, particularly our sexual and aggressive drives. And I'm just like, hey, id Software. Gross. Okay? Why you gotta be so gross?
Yeah, well, if you've ever played an id Software game, there are definitely the base urges of violence are satisfied in a lot of these games.
That's true. I guess they really did nail it then with their title. Good job, id Software. I take it all back.
They actually started as a company. They were called Ideas from the Deep. So maybe that's ID. Maybe if you take the from the out of there, ID Software. And then they were like, oh, id Software. And then John Romero was probably like, yeah, id Software. Anyway, they're a Texas-based game developer. They were founded by John Carmack, John Romero, Tom Hall, and Adrian Carmack. Adrian Carmack has no relation to John Carmack.
They're just two different people with the same last name?
Just two different people with the same last name.
That's strange.
But before id Software, it was just the two Johns, Carmack and Romero. Back in the late 80s and the early 90s, side-scrolling platformers were huge. So we got to go a little bit back before the popularized FPSs. So remember the late 80s, Mike?
I do. I was 1 year old.
When every game was a Mario clone, side-scrolling, jumping.
Yeah, every game was like that. I remember that.
Side-scrolling platformers, big deal. Nintendo dominated in this area. And back in those days, the PCs weren't the powerhouses they were today compared to like game consoles. So like today you could take a console and a PC and like a PC costs like 5 times as much. So it's way more powerful because they're more or less the same thing. But back in the 80s, 90s, consoles had a lot more specialized hardware specifically for gaming. One of the things that consoles could do back in the day was smooth scrolling. So when you move to the side of the screen, you know how it just like smoothly scrolls? PCs couldn't do that, or at least not in like a smooth way or like a non-chunky way. It was just like, you just couldn't do it on PCs back in the day because the hardware didn't support it. But John Carmack, Tom Hall, and John Romero, they figured it out. They cracked the problem. They used some like sophisticated memory techniques that I can't even begin to describe. I would not do it justice. But in a fevered night of inspiration, the trio built the first few levels of Super Mario Bros. 3 on PC. The next day, they found that they still loved playing it. They were like, oh, this is actually really cool. So they were like, you know what we should do? Let's remake the whole game on PC. Let's remake all of Super Mario Bros. 3. So they did that. They built most of the game, at least enough of the game to put it into like a prototype form. And they had some connections at Nintendo. They were like, let us show you this. So they showed the prototype to Nintendo. And they're like, hey, you want to pay us to port Super Mario Bros. 3 to the PC because we got this thing figured out. And Nintendo was like, we don't really care about PC. Nobody in Japan cares about PC. We're just not interested in it.
Nintendo, why not be like that?
So our homies now, they were working at Softdisk at the time. So this is they hadn't started their own company yet, but they had worked so hard on this and they believed in it so much that they were like, you know what? We don't need Nintendo. Let's quit our jobs, get some funding from a publisher called Apogee, which I'm not sure if that publisher still exists or not.
I'll Google it right now.
Great. They got their funding from Apogee and they decided to start a new company to make a game using that tech anyway. And this is where the Ideas from the Deep company was formed. So Ideas from the Deep released a game called Commander Keen, which was a side-scrolling PC game, see, using their old side-scrolling tech, where you play as Commander Keen, the alternate ego of 8-year-old Billy Blaze, battling out in a side-scrolling PC adventure game. It was very similar to the Super Mario Brothers series, a little bit different, but it had that smooth scrolling feature that like was so cool on PCs.
Just so you know, real quick, Apogee still exists. They go by Apogee Software LLC now.
Oh,
but
have they made anything recently?
Rowlett, Texas. They're based in Rowlett, Texas. Well, in 2016, they made a game called Radical Heroes Crimson City Crisis, which is read out on Wikipedia, so therefore there's no link. But they also, in 2011, made a game called Duke Nukem Critical Mass for the Nintendo DS.
Well, how about that?
And then a game called Rise of the Triad in 2013 for PC. Yeah. But they still exist, and they're in Rowlett, Texas, named after the famous owl grass Pokemon, Rowlett.
Well, good for them.
Famous, yeah. There you go.
Well, back to Ideas from the Deep. So they just released Commander Keen, and over the next year or so, they'd release 4 more episodes of this game, which was kind of a style of release that they would use for the next games. I think there was 2 trilogies of Commander Keen games, so probably 6 episodes total, I guess.
That's a lot.
But it was, yeah. That was a method that they would choose to release a lot of their games that we'll come back to, like in this episodic format. So after the success of Commander Keen, John Carmack was like, okay, I'm done with this side-scrolling business. You know what the cool new hotness is in the early 90s? 3D graphics.
Ooh.
Which was something that consoles couldn't do, PCs couldn't really do it, like the problems hadn't been solved yet. So John Carmack, being an absolute genius of a programmer, seriously, this guy made so many of the like techniques that make modern games possible. Starting with that engine that they made for the Super Mario Bros. 3 and Commander Keen, but moving on to 3D graphics. There weren't that many 3D games happening. So Carmack developed a system known as ray casting, which is not to be confused with ray tracing. And he didn't invent the idea of ray casting, but he utilized the ray casting, which allowed a computer to only make the calculations on the surfaces that could be seen by the player. So that was the big bottleneck at the time, was that like, sure, we can, like, the computer can do the math to show the to like show these 3D things, but it was like calculating it for every possible like angle basically, and it was just too big for a computer to be able to process. Even today, like that would be pretty big. So what Carmack did was he was like, well, what's the player looking at? That's all we need to actually make calculations for. So he developed that system, and that heavily cut down on the amount of surfaces that needed calculation, and it allowed computers to run rudimentary 3D graphics. And he was like, this is pretty sweet. So they set about building a game based on this technology. The first first-person shooter that they released was not Doom. It was a title called Wolfenstein 3D, which was sort of a remake of the game Castle Wolfenstein, which came out on personal computers back in 1980, I want to say. 1980. It was a fairly old game, even at the time. There's some debate on whether or not you can consider Wolfenstein 3D to be the first first-person shooter game. There was like some other maze games that like sort of utilized a lot of similar techniques. But I think we can agree that it was the first successful FPS that clearly feels like it inspired modern FPS titles, even to this day. Like like the ideas that it put forth are ideas that are still in use today. In Wolfenstein, you play as American soldier William B.J. Blazkowicz, a spy sent to take out the Nazis. And that's what you do in this game. You shoot a lot of Nazis. Through so many Nazis. If you've played any of the more recent Wolfenstein games, it's kind of a similar feel of just like going around shooting Nazis. I think the newer Wolfenstein games have a bit more nuance to them, but this one was basically, I don't know, here's a maze, go and shoot some Nazis. But you were doing the whole thing from a first person's perspective with like a gun in the middle of the screen that was pointed at Nazis and shooting them. And so players felt like they were really hunting down Hitler and the minions of pure evil. This game was also divided up into 2 trilogies for a total of 6 episodes.
They love their 2 trilogies. They're real into it.
They're real big on trilogies and doing 2 of them. There were some limitations for the Wolfenstein engine. Every room was the same height. Corners could only be 90-degree angles, so you couldn't have like these sprawling mazes that would come out in Doom. But it was pretty sweet, and like people had never seen anything like it before at the time, so people loved it. So it was successful, and most of id got to work on a sequel. They started making a game called The Spear of Destiny, which is actually a prequel. Like in storyline terms, it takes place before Wolfenstein. But not John Carmack. He was done with Wolfenstein. He was focused on the future. He was focused on Doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
We're doing all our own a cappella audio drops this episode. I forgot to tell people that. So
perfect. I think people like that better. It's a more raw, real way
it's real.
Of doing these things.
It's magic.
Yeah. So they went from cutesy Commander Keen to shooting humans and fighting actual Hitler in Wolfenstein 3D. Like you actually kill Hitler at the end, and he has like a machine gun, and it's really crazy. So like, where do you go from there? How do you raise the stakes? Well, if you've already killed evil incarnate and aren't satisfied, there's only one place left to go: hell.
That's true. I mean, that's a good way to get there. You know, I could see their reasoning.
Yeah. I like how there's like a motorcycle in the background of your thing too, right? When I said that, so it was like it sounded like
you guys
a cool
heard that?
audio thing.
Well, I think I'm going to leave it then. I'm not going to take it out. I'm going to leave the motorcycle. It wasn't a motorcycle. It was actually this person in my neighborhood with a very loud muffler.
Oh,
but they're probably going to hell. So
yeah, well, we'll see them in Doom, I suppose.
Yeah, probably. They're actually the third boss in Doom. It's a loud muffler guy.
So Doom came out in 1993, only 1 year after Wolfenstein 3D. It had a lot of the same things as Wolfenstein. The levels were kind of laid out like mazes that you had to be moving through at high speed, killing everything, a whole roster of weapons to choose from, and like a ton of levels to get through. In Doom, once they're in hell, the player would fight a lot of different enemy types that are all various types of demons. Some of these would be demonized versions of humans that would like shoot at you, not do too much damage, with like the zombie guys. There were some with shotguns called shotgun guys. None of these things had real names, so people sort of made up names for them. Zombie men, shotgun guys. Even the main character of Doom is called just Doom Guy because he didn't really have a name. So
did they ever give him a name?
Yeah, he's called something in the newest Doom game. I can't remember. It's like almost like, you know how in Halo they call you like the Reclaimer. In the later games, he has a name that's like cool like that. I think. Is
it Mr. Doom Guy? Do they just put a Mister on the front of it?
They decided to get real formal.
Yeah, very formal with it. Doom Guy Esquire. That's what it goes by.
Mr. Doom Guy Esquire, PhD in zombie killing. There were a bunch of other enemy types, too, that were demons of all kinds. You had the Pinky Demon, which also just named that by the community, who looked like... If you saw this guy, he's like a four-legged like monster thing with like spikes on him and like weird-looking teeth. And I don't know if it has eyes, but it looks like it doesn't. I don't know. But if you saw it, you would go, oh, yeah, that's the Pinky Demon because he's like bright pink. He couldn't shoot you, but he moved quickly and he did a lot of damage if he got up close to you. You had the Imps, which shot fireballs at you that were usually pretty easy to dodge. And you had things like the Caco Demon, which is like this giant red face and it just does a bunch of damage and it's really hard to kill. There's other enemies besides that, but I think you kind of get the point. And all of this was set to... Yeah, it's pretty scary. And especially because they had one of the things that they innovated on was like sort of like lighting effects or pseudo lighting effects. So there are parts of the game that are darker than others and parts that have like blinking lights. So it's like kind of has this like horror aesthetic going on there. which was pretty cool. It also had like a super cool heavy metal soundtrack, like the guitars that like go. It's good. It really makes you feel like you want to go straight to hell and start shooting some demons. Is really what the soundtrack does, which is good because that's what you do in this game. The levels, like I said, were like the same as kind of like the mazes in Wolfenstein. They were a little bit more complex because corners didn't have to be right angles. They could be any angle now. You could have stairs also, like some of the levels had stairs and you could go up levels. Curiously though, if there's a part of a level that has stairs above it, you actually can't go below that part. Like you can't actually play below that. So like it's all still like a 2D map kind of in that sense.
Oh, it just shows like it looks like it's got stuff underneath it, but it doesn't, right?
Right. Yeah. So you can't like build a staircase up and then like go around and like walk under the staircase. If you're going upstairs, there's no way to play below where you are, which I think is kind of interesting and a limitation of the Doom engine at the time. There were like lots of keys in the levels. Like you'd have a red key, a yellow key, and a blue key. And like some doors would only be able to be opened if you had the right keys. There were switches in Doom also, which I don't think Wolfenstein had. So like you would flip a switch in one area and that would open a door in another area. So you had to have pretty good maze solving skills to get through.
Get those
Doom.
maze solving skills going, everybody. Who doesn't love that? That's always fun. I actually like puzzles, you know? Throw a little puzzle in to deal with the excessive violence. You know, you gotta.
And if you're not playing on the higher difficulties, after you killed enemies, they wouldn't come back. So you could like kill everything and then like go through it.
Oh, was that the big
maze
mechanic?
style.
Like they would come back if you killed all the enemies in the harder difficulty. That's how they made it harder, essentially.
Yeah, on the harder difficulties, they just respawned after a certain amount of time, so you couldn't like kill everything and then figure the maze out. It was like you had to be killing things while figuring the maze out.
That sounds very good. That's like, I mean, it's weird because I think now that's like not a new concept, obviously, but back then people were probably just like, damn, you know?
Yeah. Oh man, they come back. It's crazy.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah. So the original Doom had 3 episodes. So here we go with the trilogies again. We had Knee Deep in the Dead. We had The Shores of Hell and Inferno. And then later on, when they released Ultimate Doom, they would include a 4th episode called Thy Flesh Consumed.
Ooh, that's a
ominous.
good ominous title right there. It seems like, you know, I mean, just from the outside perspective now, looking in, and we're not even halfway through yet, I think, but I'm definitely seeing these guys, not only were they really genius programmers, but they also just made good a game. Like, it just has a good story. Very basic, easy story, but they know what they were doing, like, titles-wise and scary monster-wise. Like, it's just all around good stuff, you know?
Yeah, and it was super fun, too. So, like, it's a very rare quality, I think, to be both just a genius programmer and somebody who can make a good game. Like you said, like, that's... Like you can have one of those things or the other, and that doesn't mean that a great game is going to get made. But like having both of those things really makes things like Doom truly awesome, and super influential, like what we were talking about. So in Doom, the storyline is you play as, like I said, you play as an unnamed space marine. Most people just call him Doom Guy. He is sent to Mars after attacking his commanding officer. His commanding officer did something like evil, like set up a firing squad or something, and Doom Guy, this is all before the game. Doom Guy's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so he attacks his commanding officer, and he gets sent to basically to like, not janitor duty, but like he gets sent to Mars to be like, that's like where you get exiled to basically if you're a bad person. And this is where the Union Aerospace Corporation, UAC, is doing teleportation experiments between Mars's 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos.
Well, dude, of course, there's always a terrible corporation. You know, that's what we've learned. If you let corporations run rampant, they're going to open portals to hell.
That's right. And so they're doing these teleportation experiments, and they screwed up and they opened a portal to hell, and so demons are just pouring out of it. So as the lone survivor, it's up to you to head in there and lay waste to the demons of hell. So you go in there. I think part of the first part of the game is fighting your way to that portal, and then you go through the portal and kill stuff, and then you realize there's more stuff in there and you got to keep killing stuff. There's just always reasons to keep killing stuff.
You know what I like? There's not just a like heaven and hell kind of angle to this. There's also a space angle.
Yeah.
Some sci-fi.
I think it's interesting
in
that the hell on Mars is like a different than the hell on Earth too. I think like they're different, or maybe they're portals to the same plane. I don't know. You generally, like, if you're thinking in a literal sense, it's like, hell is below ground, right? Below the Earth. But like, what if you're on Mars? Is there a hell on Mars too? Well, according to Doom, the answer is yes.
So many different hells based on what planet you're on.
I know. Just every planet has its own hell, and they're all the same hell, I guess. I don't know.
If there's one thing we want you to take from this podcast, it's every planet has a different hell.
So when Doom launched, they used the same distribution system they used for Commander Keen and Wolfenstein. We hadn't talked about this yet, but they used a system called shareware. They didn't invent shareware, but I think it's important to talk about shareware.
I think we touched on this in the timeline, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, I think in one of the computer episodes.
Yeah, I definitely need you to refresh my memory though. So let's go into it, because we mentioned it as being a way, and Doom is the people who really made it popular, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it was fairly popular, I think, before Doom, but I think it was a reason that Doom was popular also, was the shareware, because the way they did it. Anyway, so if you need a refresher on what shareware is, back in the day, talking 80s, early 90s, you couldn't just log on to the internet and find out what the latest games were and just download demos of them like you can today. You had to rely on your friends or maybe the clerk at like your local computer store to tell you what was new and worth playing. So what shareware titles did was basically they took most of the game out, except for maybe the first few levels. In Doom's case, they made it small enough to fit onto 2 floppy disks. And they just start handing them out for free. They gave them to stores and they said, here, charge whatever you want for them or charge nothing for them. Fine. And it had the whole first episode, Knee Deep in the Dead, which was 8 levels plus 1 secret level, which was plenty of free content to get somebody familiar with the game. Like, that's probably easy a good hour or 2 of gameplay, and you could keep playing it. It wasn't like a timed thing. So I probably played the shareware levels of Doom like 100 times. It's just like, because that was the free version, and so I played those levels so much.
One thing I know about Tyler, hates alien demons from Mars Hell. It's one thing I know about you. That's true. You know.
Yeah. So
Love
this really allowed
aliens.
me to live out that fantasy of killing alien demons from Mars Hell. But this method of distribution also encourages people to copy the game and share it with their friends, kind of as a way of advertising. So there's no copy protection on the disc. They're not making any sort of effort to keep people from sharing this, hence the name shareware. Like, they want people to spread this out. So you would actually have people set up, they would have like meetups where they would come and like exchange floppies of like different shareware titles, which is pretty cool. Nowadays you have like timed trials, demo versions, and then like just games that are just free that sort of make this method of distribution obsolete. But at the time, discovering a new game and sharing it with your friends was like this super fun way to like feel like you had discovered something, you know, and like that you were like the keeper of the secret of like, oh, I have this really great game. No one else knows about it here. I'm going to make you a copy of the shareware version to share with you. I think that's really fun and kind of a time period I wish that I had sort of lived through, I guess. I didn't spend a lot of time in the shareware era of video games, but I kind of wish that I had.
It just sounds like an exciting time, you know, like people knew it was probably knew it was going to get bigger, and the time for PC gaming was on the horizon. And it was just like waiting for that to get there. Also, it does feel cool when you can share something with your friends, like you have a secret and then you give it to them for free. It just feels good.
Yeah, and so if you went to one of these like shareware meetups, you sort of felt like you were being led into the exclusive club of like, oh man, wonder what cool stuff I'm going to find out about this time, you know? And like, I just think that's really cool. And it's all totally legal and cool to make copies of these discs and share with your friends.
Yeah, that's even better, because who doesn't love it when it's legal and fun, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a fun fact. When Doom was first uploaded to the internet in December of 1993, because the internet did exist at this time, it was just very small and like it was mostly confined to like universities, and like not a whole lot of people had it at home. But it was uploaded to the internet. They uploaded it to the University of Wisconsin Parkside. There they have some FTP servers, and so many people tried to download the shareware version of Doom all at once that they ended up crashing the whole university's computer network, which I think is pretty funny.
That's awesome.
So it was pretty popular, I guess.
Well, not if you're the University of Wisconsin Parkside. Then it's pretty. If you're their IT person, that was probably a no good bad day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was an absolute nightmare of a day, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of networks, another thing that Doom innovated on was they included a networked playing mode called Deathmatch. And this wasn't the first networked, like, first-person shooter game. Actually, Maze War in, like, 1979 could be played over a network on mainframes and stuff. But Doom had, like, a basically just go around and shoot each other mode called Deathmatch that you could play over the network with your friends, and it was super cool. It was really popular at places like universities where a lot of students had computers for writing papers. Like they either had their own computer if you were a rich kid, or there was at least a computer lab that you could go to and do work on a computer. And so Doom was so popular on like college campuses that there were a lot of college campuses that ended up like banning Doom because there was so much network traffic that they were slowing down the network and keeping like actual learning from happening. So it had a pretty large community at that point. Like there were a lot of people who were playing the game. There were a lot of people who were playing multiplayer with each other, either over the network or even online. You could actually, with earlier versions of Doom, if you had a modem and your friend had a modem, you could play each other, and you actually didn't have to go over the internet or like dial into your ISP. You could just call your friend's phone number directly and their computer would pick it up, and you could play modem to modem, like just through the phone line between you and your friend's computer, which I think is really fun and interesting way
really
of like
nice.
playing over the phone line without going through other servers. I think that's pretty cool.
There's no one but you and your friend. It's just you
right.
and your friend and two modems. It's beautiful. That's what friendship is like, you know?
That's right. Yep. So John Carmack, who was inspired by the modding community that had sprung up around Wolfenstein 3D, he designed Doom in such a way that it was super easy to add new files to the game. So he wanted it to be very easy for someone to just make their own levels and make their own weapons and like just modify everything. And so he developed a file format, and the engine sort of runs off this file format called WADs, WADs, which stands for Where's All the Data. And so you would put all of your mod files into one WAD file, and then you just load the WAD file and you would play like your new levels or your new whatever. They also included the map editor tool. Well, I don't know if they included it with it, but they released the map editor tool online, the one that they use to make the levels themselves. They're just like, yeah, anybody can have it. Let's everybody make your own levels. This will be sweet. So people released their own levels, their own guns, enemies, like art. Some of the stuff that they would just be like new Doom levels to just use the regular Doom stuff. But there are also groups that did things called total conversions, which would make it completely different from Doom. In fact, here's a side story. As a kid, I played a total conversion that was put out by Chex. The cereal maker Chex. They were owned by like Ralston Foods. They weren't General Mills at the time. But they included a standalone Doom total conversion called Chex Quest in their cereal boxes, which was like a total conversion of Doom. So it played just like Doom, but all of the weapons had different skins. So they were all the same weapons, like they all mapped up to the weapons from Doom, but they shot like lasers instead of bullets. And you played as Chex Guy, who is sent to the planet Bazoik to deal with these like enemies called Flemoids that I guess eat cereal or something. They're like an evil race of space aliens from another dimension. But instead of killing them, you used your weapons that were called Zorchers. You shot them with the Zorchers to send them back to their own dimension. So the gameplay was exactly like Doom. It had all the same enemies, all the same guns, but everything looked different. And instead of killing things, you were sending them back to their own dimension. So it was kid friendly. You could play it with your kids, play a super violent game like Doom.
Tyler?
It had 5 levels. It was very fun.
I have been holding in this entire paragraph, the anticipation to tell you that I also played Chex Quest as a kid.
You played Chex Quest too?
And I loved it. Yes. I 100% remember. I haven't completely forgot about it. And then you were like, Chex. And I was like, wait, what? And I'm like, I definitely played Chex Quest. Did it come in a cereal box? It came in a cereal box, right?
I had the CD for a long time. I wish I could dig it up again. But yeah, it came in a cereal box.
Yeah, it was a decent sized game to just come in a cereal box, and there were sequels to it too. Chex Quest 2, Flemoids Take Chextropolis, and then Chex Quest 3, which does not have a subtitle. But
yeah, I think Chex Quest 2, so after you finish Chex Quest 1, it's like go to chexquest.com and see what happens next. And you could download Chex Quest 2, and then I think Chex Quest 3 was made by the same guy that made the first 2 Chex Quests, but it never was released officially, but he ended up releasing it.
We need to have a full timeout right now, because in 2016, I'm reading straight from Wikipedia here. In 2016, Jacoby, who I think is the person who designed Chex Quest, revealed that a high-definition remake of the original game called Chex Quest HD was in development using Unreal Engine 4 with permission of General Mills. A trailer for the remake was released in February 2019. Like the original game, it contains 5 levels and will be released for free. We need to watch this trailer the minute this ends.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, we get to watch this trailer afterward. I'm super stoked. All right. That's so awesome to know.
That's amazing.
They
I
also
love Chex Quest.
They were also talking about doing a Kickstarter for Chex Quest 4, but I think they decided to go with this remake instead, which is a good idea. You should remake it.
Yeah. I think that's good.
So awesome.
Anyway, sorry for the Chex Quest tangent, listeners, but Doom launched to great consumer and critical acclaim. Shareware distribution method meant that it got into a lot of people's hands, and the game sold like hotcakes, sold like gangbusters. Probably even outsold Jaybird.
Whoa,
So,
let's not say things we can't take back, okay?
I'm sorry. So it was doing really well. People were playing it online and over their networks and over their phone lines. It was pretty obvious that a sequel was necessary. So they pretty much got started on the sequel as soon as they finished the original trilogy or quadrilogy, I guess, with Thy Flesh Consumed. So Doom 2 takes that same Doom gameplay we loved and added a few new things. I think they added a double-barreled shotgun. They added I want to say, I don't remember if the chainsaw's in the original. Anyway, they added a couple new weapons. But the storyline of Doom 2 picks up pretty much right at the end of Doom. After ridding Mars of its demon troubles, the Marine returns to Earth only to find that the demons have made their way to Earth already and killed billions of people, and it's up to you, as Doom Guy, to go through 30-plus levels and rid the world of the evil demons from hell. So we're back in it. Time to kill these monsters again.
30-plus levels. Is that more than how many did the original Doom have?
I think that's comparable to the original trilogy.
Still a lot of levels, though.
It's a lot of levels, and it's not divided up into a trilogy. It's just like
all
30
one
straight
big
levels.
Game.
Yeah. The gameplay itself is pretty unchanged. There's a few new weapons, a few new enemies. The levels are larger. They have more intricate mazes. It was overall a harder game in my experience, but I'm also bad at games, especially maze games. So,
I don't think you're bad at games, Tyler. Okay.
Well, you've never seen me play Doom 2, so...
That's true. Okay, you know what? I take it all back. Maybe Tyler's bad at Doom 2, but I know he's a Jaybird champion. I know that in my heart.
Anyway, Doom 2 is pretty great. So Doom Guy saves the planet from demons, and then he goes straight back into hell to defeat the final boss of Doom 2 is called the Icon of Sin.
Whoa.
Let's let that sink in. Yeah. So anyway, he destroys the Icon of Sin, and I guess it's the end, ? Who knows, right? So after Doom 2, it also released Final Doom, which contained 2 more episodes of 30-plus levels each. We had TNT Evolution and the Plutonia Experiment. And these were both mods that were being made by the Doom modding community. But just days before these gigantic megawads were going to be released, id bought up the people that were working on them and hired them, and they made them into a commercial product for Final Doom, which is pretty neat for those teams. But I imagine that if I were a player who were like anxiously awaiting the release of Evolution and the Plutonia Experiment, just getting bought up and like then not being free would have kind of miffed me a little bit. So
yeah, I'm reading up on these right now. I'm kind of confused. So why did they decide to just combine them together? Was it just like a business decision?
Yeah, they just bought them. They were like, well, these are going to be free, high quality levels, and so we could just buy them and sell them instead of give them away for free. And I think they added, they put a little bit extra polish on them and stuff like that.
So they're just going corporate is what you're telling me. They're going real corporate right now. What happened to the share and share alike mindset of the original? I get it. They got to make money somewhere. They are a big company, so.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, those two sets of levels, there wasn't anything too special about them. They were just more Doom levels. They didn't add any new weapons or anything like that. One of them, I think Evolution, had its own soundtrack, which was cool, but then the Plutonia Experiment did not have its own soundtrack. So, or I might have mixed those up, but one of them had a new soundtrack, the other one didn't. But they're worth playing. If you like Doom, it's more Doom. So, more levels of Doom is great. In 1997, it also released Doom 64 for the Nintendo 64. And this is different from because Doom was seriously ported to almost every single game console of the day. But Doom 64 is a little bit different because it wasn't a port of Doom or Doom 2. It was its own full-blown Doom game. So if you want, it's basically Doom 3, even though I know there is a Doom 3, but this was basically the Doom 3 of the day.
Wow.
So if you wanted more Doom, time to get a Nintendo 64 and play Doom 64.
I wonder, I have a Nintendo 64. I'm going to look at that right now and look at I'm just curious what the art style would look like with it for the Oh, it looks pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
It doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, and there are projects that are bringing that to PC, with Doom mods to bring the Doom 64 to
it looks
PC.
Very, very low light, though. Very hard to see.
Well, that's the whole Doom thing.
Time to turn up that brightness, team. Let's do it. Kill some aliens.
That's right. So after Doom 2, id Software would take a pretty long break from the franchise. They wouldn't take a break from first-person shooter games, and they certainly wouldn't take a break from making big technological breakthroughs. Because after Doom, they would make the Quake series. So they made Quake and Quake 2, and then Quake 3, and even Quake 4, I want to say, was before Doom 3. Can't remember. Maybe not. Actually, Quake 4 might have been after Doom 3. I'll have to look that up. But in 2001, they announced that they were remaking Doom with current technology at the time. Funnily enough, they announced that at Macworld, which I thought was hilarious, since games are not usually the first thing that one thinks of when it comes to big announcements at an Apple conference. People aren't like, oh yeah, can't wait to hear about video games. Yeah. Side note, surprisingly, there are a lot of large games that were actually announced at Apple events. So Doom 3, Halo was announced at a Mac event, and Fortnite too. 6 years ago, they started talking about Fortnite and how it was going to be this great Mac game.
So we all got to keep an eye on Macworld is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Don't forget Macworld, everybody.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy. Anyway, moving on. Before we get to Doom 3, I want to talk about ports for Doom and Doom 2. I think Doom and Doom 2 might be available on more platforms than any other game, both officially and then unofficially. So officially, Doom and Doom 2 have been ported to MS-DOS, Microsoft Windows, Next Step, which is actually where the game was developed. The company that Steve Jobs formed after he left Apple in the 80s. He formed a company called Next Step, which was popular in niche circles. Apparently, John Carmack, big fan because he developed Doom on a Next Step PC. OS2, IRIX, Solaris, Mac OS, Linux, and Acorn RISC OS. And that's just PC releases. There were also a bunch of console and handheld releases, including the Sega 32X, the Atari Jaguar, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation, the 3DO, the Sega Saturn, Game Boy Advance, the original Xbox as part of the collector's edition of Doom 3. When that came out on Xbox, it was in a steelbook. The original Doom games are on there. Xbox 360 on the Xbox Live Arcade, PlayStation 3 on the PlayStation Network. It was on the Tapwave Zodiac, which is a machine that everybody has forgotten about, but it had a copy of Doom on it, or port of Doom. And it came out on iOS for both the iPhone and iPod Touch. And those are just the official ports, because in 1997, the source code for the original Doom engine was released for free. John Carmack was like, this game is a few years old now. We're not making any money off of the technology anymore. We're just going to release it for free for anybody to do whatever they want with. So now it has been unofficially ported to almost literally anything that's powerful enough to run it. I'm not even joking about that. If you own a thing that has a screen and it has enough power to play Doom, somebody has ported Doom to it. I can play Doom on my watch. I can play Doom on my PlayStation Portable. I can play Doom on probably my toaster. If you have a fridge with one of those screens in it, I bet you can play Doom on it. It's crazy the amount of things.
Okay, I gotta Google Doom on a smart fridge right now. Be right back.
All right.
Continue.
So I actually have personal experience playing Doom on the PSP, like I said, the Nintendo DS. Before Doom 3 came out, the original Xbox also got ports of the original Doom from the homebrew community for Xbox. Pocket PC, which I had one of those, a Dell Axim X5, and the Dreamcast. None of those were official ports made by id, but because they released the source code engine, or the the source code to the engine, people were able to port it and put it anywhere. And that's a trend that it would continue into the future as well. They released the Quake source code eventually, the Quake 2 source code, Quake 3. I think most recently they released the source code to Doom 3 as well, and all of its technological marvels from 2004. So launching or releasing the source code for Doom spawned a whole community of Doom engine modifications. So if you're trying to play Doom on a modern machine, the best way to do it is not to just find an old copy of Doom and like plug it in and try to play it, although that can work if you have the right hardware for it. The best way to do it is to find one of those source ports and play one of those. And there's like way too many of them to name here, but if you Google like best Doom source port, you'll find tons of discussion online over what the best one is. I played a lot in the early 2000s. I played a lot of Doom Legacy, which I'm not sure is still in active development.
Okay,
but that's the source port that I used back. I
have an update for you, Tyler. So
okay.
I just Googled Doom on Smart Fridge, and the first post is from Reddit, May 29th, 2018. Original content: Doom can run on your Samsung Smart Fridge.
Love
and
it.
it's actually on a Reddit thread called It Runs Doom, where I think this subreddit focuses on odd hardware that runs Doom. Calculators, ATMs, fridges, old video game systems. If it has a computer in it, it can possibly run Doom. And so this guy, he got it. So he said, I opened the web browser on his smart fridge. After opening the web browser, I go to JS-DOS, a web-based DOS emulator. I select Doom, and then magic happens. Doom and MS-DOS boot up. I cannot use the menu to start a game because I have no keyboard, but Doom boots up. So yes, a fridge can run Doom. And then there's another, I just typed that into Google too, the Doom on a smart fridge, and then there's playing Doom on an ATM, playing Doom on a transparent Spino display, or Spino display. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
Nope.
No, but yeah, it looks like, and there's actually, on Vice.com, there is a story called A Catalog of All the Devices That Can Somehow Run Doom. Toasters, pianos, trucks.
I bet you can play it on like a TI-83 too calculator. I don't remember specifically, but I wouldn't be surprised if middle school Tyler was playing Doom on his calculator.
I'm going to send you an image over Discord right now, Tyler. You need to look at this because this person is playing Doom inside their box truck on a gigantic screen. Yeah, it looks so bad. This is just so cool to me, and I really like that they release that source code to everyone so people can just do funny stuff on this. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. Here's Doom running on an old Nokia phone on a Zune. Don't forget the Zune run Doom. Okay.
Oh wow, Zune ran Doom, huh?
This person's playing it on a Kodiak smart camera.
Wow.
So yeah, hey, if you have an odd device in your house and you're like, I want to see if Doom can run on it, just Google your device in Doom, and I bet you someone's done it already, right?
The answer is probably yes.
Yeah. And Doom also can run on a printer. Gosh, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. This just seems so fun to see all the weird stuff that Doom can run on. But do you ever think that we're going to get so advanced technologically, Tyler, that we're going to be able to play Doom on, it's going to be a Halo is going to play on everything? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll get to a point where Halo becomes
probably.
this.
I bet if they released the source code to the Halo engine, we probably would be there now.
Oh, man, I just want to play Halo on my calculator, okay? So, we've hit a pretty good... this is a pretty good stopping point, because there's a lot more.
Yeah, we still got to talk about Doom 3. We got to talk about Doom, the remake that happened in 2016. We've got a whole bunch of Doom spin-offs that happened too, like Doom RPG and stuff like that to talk about. So I think we could end it here and come back next week with a bit more Doom coverage.
Yeah, that works for me because, I know people are like, we want you to have 2-hour episodes. And it's like, yeah, I get that. But we have lives and we're doing this for free and we gotta do some research and come back. So I think this is a good place to leave off. But this is great. I'm loving this so far. I'm really excited that we get to do these episodes now where we don't have to worry about, all right, at this date, this happened. We're not constrained by time. So, well, we still are, but not in the way I'm talking about before. So, Tyler, what you been playing?
Back on that Destiny train. We started playing some more Destiny yesterday, so we're trying to get back We got Thorn, the gun.
We got Thorn.
remember?
I did the tapes today by myself. It's seriously like you just open up an article that has where they all are on the EDZ and you do it. It's not that hard. It takes like 20. The longest amount of time is listening to the tapes because the tapes are kind of long. So I'm like,
yeah.
oh. But it's kind of worth it. You get some stuff, so it's kind of worth it.
Well, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Anything else? Because I don't remember if I mentioned last week what I've been playing.
Oh, what have you been playing?
Well, did I tell them last week that I started playing Magic the Gathering Arena?
Yes, because you got beat by a 10-year-old.
I got beat by a 10-year-old, so I started doing that, and that's been going good. But then last night, my girlfriend is a high school teacher, and I chaperoned prom with her, and it was at Mopop, the old EMP, and they have a whole exhibit called Indie Video Games. And
cool.
And that was open. And so we were like supervising in quotes, but the kids were all great. They were well-behaved students, very polite. It was fun. Okay. But I got to play Overcooked for the first time. I'd never played Overcooked.
Oh, Overcooked is so fun.
And it was so fun. And she and I played it, and it was like a 10-minute demo, and we were like kind of already working on like a strategy of like what we were going to do next. And then it cut off like your 10-minute demo's up. And I'm like, oh man. Like I was really loving it.
Overcooked is great. It's a good way to bond with your significant other. It's also a good way to not bond with your significant other, depending on how well you're able to work together.
That's true. I mean, we've had things in the past when we started dating, and I got really frustrated at a Lego game because she was like learning how to jump, and I was just like, I am not the hero of this story, is what I'm trying to tell the audience. I just got really frustrated, but we had a lot of fun, and so I'm actually, because it's just another reason I want to get a Nintendo Switch so we can play these games together. Because I feel like just co-op locally in general is better on a Nintendo Switch than any other console right now.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, but I had a lot of fun. So those are the games I played. Still doing Magic the Gathering. Still doing Destiny. And then Overcooked just on a demo. It's so fun. So Tyler, I think without anything else, let's just say our usual things where you can find us on Twitter. Tyler's at SneakerElf, ELPH. I'm at Mecoletta, MECOLETTA. You can email us anything you want to. Anything. Just any advice, any thoughts. It doesn't even have to be about the podcast. It could be how you doing, and I'll respond to it, or Tyler will respond to it at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. Probably going to change our name soon, just so everyone knows. But we wanted to get these episodes out to you, and I have a very busy May of traveling, so we might not happen until around June when we finally change our name. But wanted to throw that out there. And, rate, review, and subscribe on whatever podcasting medium you use. That's very helpful to us. And tell your friends. Tell your friends. So thank you so much for listening. And Tyler, is there anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
No, I think that's it. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. I'm about to take a sip of LaCroix. Do you got a LaCroix?
I do have a LaCroix.
I told Katie I was buying Kirkland Signature brand LaCroix, and she gave me a look. And I'm like, let's
really?
not be
Like,
LaCroix elitists, okay?
She's like, oh, really? Do you play with Mega Blocks and color with Rose Art crayons?
And I was like, yeah, and I also eat Skippy brand peanut butter, so get out of here.
You buy your cereal in a bag?